All right, welcome to another Friday night episode of Keto Rocks Radio. I'm Jim Hobbs, and somewhere on the screen is my carnivore co-host, Brian Damage Forsythe for the band Kix and Rhino Bucket, and he is representing Rhino Bucket tonight. Awesome.
I got a new one.
So can people get your shirts? Can you buy your merchandise? What site can they go to buy a shirt like that, Brian?
I should have been prepared for that question. Yeah, we have a guy that does our merch now, so I'll send you the link and you can put it in the show notes or whatever.
Gotcha. Well, we're excited to have a new guest joining us tonight who's got an awesome story that I'm just as excited as you all are to hear about it. And so please welcome to the show, Deena Cavall from New Jersey. So welcome, Deena. Great to have you on.
Hi, great to be here.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about your life, about who you are. I know you're a photographer, a famous photographer, but you have turned to keto and carnivore to live out your life, or am I wrong?
Well, I am not as
blown
exclusively meat. I've given up sugar.
Oh, that's a great first step.
Totally gave up sugar. But
hold on a second. That's worth celebrating too.
I still eat, as far as keto, I still eat vegetables. I still eat salad, but and occasionally I'll splurge on a sushi roll. That's got the little white rice in it, but I don't eat sugar. I have given up all sugar, and the results that I've seen in my blood work has been amazing just from that one change. Actually, it's two changes, because from giving up sugar, then I used to like a glass of wine at night, and I don't have any alcohol either because there's sugar in that as well. So no sugar, no alcohol, and the difference in my blood work is significant just from that.
Let's start with what led you to make that decision to withdraw from sugar, because sugar is such an addictive substance that it's very hard for the majority of people out there to give up sugar. It's just hard for them to do. So what led to that decision?
Well, my mom, who is now 84, about a couple years ago, she had great health her whole life, passed every physical, wasn't on any medication. And a few years ago, she had terrible chest pains, found out she had a 99% blockage of her LAD artery and needed a bypass. And so they started looking into her more closely, because they're saying, hey, wait, everything looked good your whole life, and now suddenly you have heart disease. What's going on? My mom, Italian mom, to her, a half a pound of pasta is dinner. And you wash it down with a couple of cannolis. It's sugar is in everything. So the doctor started looking at how she ate, and I have the same doctor. So he said, we have to be proactive with you, because this went undetected for so long. What can we do to proactively, kickstart your health to live a long, healthy life? And he said, get rid of the sugar. He said, because with my mom's heart problem, he attributed it to sugar. I mean, the only medication she was on was for cholesterol, but he said that was related to sugar, which I never understood, because back in the 90s and, early 2000s, from what I knew, if you wanted to be healthy, you cut out fat. That's what you read, what you hear. Oh, low fat, low fat. Well, low fat, I come to learn now, equals higher sugar. And that's actually worse. The sugar is in everything, and it's really a killer. So I gave up sugar just as an experiment to see what would happen. And my next blood results were dramatically different. And I was like, wait a minute, this is we're onto something. So then I started making even better choices and, reading labels a little bit more and finding the hidden sugar and, reducing and limiting and trying to cut back on everything that I see that has extra sugar in it. And just over time, every time I get my blood work, the numbers keep getting better. Now my triglycerides, they're down to 63. I was up to 176 at my highest, and it's down to 63. My A1C was 6.0, so I was borderline diabetic. I'm down to 4.9.
Wow, that's great.
My cholesterol was it was 212. Now it's 151, my total. Just my C-reactive protein, that's the one that for me, the doctor said is significant because it measures inflammation in your arteries that, contributes to heart disease and things, but there's a lot of factors that come into play with the number, according to the way he explained it to me. I'm a former smoker. I used to smoke for 25 years. So he said the number can only come down so low because of damage that cigarettes had done over the years. But it started at an 11, which is alarming. It's the highest it should be in a healthy person is 3.
Wow.
And mine was like red flag at 11. It's down to a 3.8 now, which is still higher than it should be. But every time I get blood work, it's been a slow process, but it's coming down. And that's a drastic jump just from giving up sugar. So,
Wow.
That's awesome. So how long has this how long have you been without sugar that you remove sugar from your diet?
It's been about 5 years. About 5 years.
Wow. Yeah. Great.
It's to the point that I feel so much better. And just by seeing the proof in the data, that when I see sweets, it's a birthday and birthday cake's coming around, it's not appealing to me. Like I have no temptation to have it because I know I'm not going to feel the way I feel now, and I'm not going to see the numbers that I see now, and I'm not going to have the long-term health, so that's the key drive for me.
Yeah. Wow. My question is, did you give up other things besides sugar as far as like starches or breads or any of that stuff?
It's significantly limited. I don't eat whites, like no white bread. I really don't eat bread in general, but I'll have like a yam, that kind of starches I do have in moderation.
So mostly like vegetable versions of carbs.
Yeah. Meat. I have meat and vegetables.
Okay, so no grains.
Not really, no.
Okay.
Have you been kicked out of the family since you're not participating in pastas or red wine?
You know what? My mom is like, she's still in her old school mindset. You're not going to change an 84-year-old. And, she's like, I just have the cake, but I don't want it, Mom. Like she doesn't want it, but it's my choices and it's working. So.
Well, it's amazing that your doctor attributed all that to sugar, because most doctors won't look at that,
Excellent. Yeah.
What's his name? What's the doctor's name? Let's give him a shout out, because more doctors who do that, the better people are going to be. So what's his name?
Dr. Edward Soma, and his practice is the Intuitive Medical Group in Berkeley Heights, New Jersey. I believe it's Berkeley Heights.
Wow. Yeah.
Kudos to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's an Italian eater too. And he's like, I could sit there and polish off the pasta, but I just choose not to, because it's the same thing. I was insulin resistant, and he shared, that, he's got to keep tabs on his own health the same way. So he's very, very set that sugar is the enemy.
Yeah, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
So did you go cold turkey, or did you gradually start weaning yourself off of sugar and products that turn into sugar?
Basically, it was gradual, because when I started, I was like, let me just cut out the cake and cookies kind of thing. And then, you know, when 6 months later, I got my blood work, I saw the results. I'm like, okay, I'm onto something here. Let me scale back a little bit more. And then every time I scale back a little bit more, you know, increase the meat and the vegetables, lower the carbs. And to the point now where, you know, dinner is a steak and a salad. You know, I don't need the carbs. I don't need the starches and the breads, and it's just not worth it to me.
Yeah, it's funny how I know when my transition was very gradual, but you know, when you first start trying to do that, cut that stuff out, it's almost like you sit down to your meal and it's like something's missing, you know, but then after a while, it's just like it's normal. Like sometimes I just have steak, nothing else, just a piece of meat on my plate, and it's perfectly fine now. But I know in the old days it'd be like, oh, this is weird.
Yeah, and I see the food that you post, and it looks amazing. Like, to me, I enjoy meat, so having more of it, that part is not a challenge to me. I love that. But you know, I do enjoy the pastas and things, but it's just I don't want to have the sudden surprise of heart disease like my mom did. You know, I have a daughter, and I want to be here as long as I can for her.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, Dr. Berry talks about that all the time, how the damage starts like 10 years before you're even, before any symptom even shows up, before anybody even, like your mom. I mean, that's a perfect example of how it's just hiding in there and doing its thing, and you don't know about it until it's almost too late, you know?
Yeah.
So how's your mom doing now, Deena?
She's doing fine, knock on wood. She's still kicking better than ever. She probably runs circles around me half the time, but you know, we fight about diet all the time, because I'm like, Ma, you know, I want you here another 20, 30, 40 years, you know, but you got to cut back on those sweets and lower those carbs. And she's, oh, quit it with that, you know. But again, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. It's, you know.
Yeah, I went through that with my mom too. She, man, in her later years, she just completely went overboard on the sweets, and I would talk to her, and she'd always talk about her oatmeal in the morning, and I'm like, oh, like oatmeal's not the health food you think it is. But she was just set in her ways, you know, and I felt bad because, you know, she would read all those little magazine articles, you know, they're telling you like still talking about low fat and all that stuff. And, you know, yeah, it's just same thing. She's, you know, she was just set in her way. So there was no talking to her.
Yeah, it's hard. Like, you want to, you know, you see something that's, you know, a really good thing, and not everybody's going to be receptive to it, but those who are, it's a good thing, you know?
Yeah, I find that, yeah, I have to sort of wait till somebody asks me before I start telling them, because if I just tell them about it, then they look at me like I'm some weird, like, what?
Yeah.
So what's some of the benefits you have enjoyed during this 5-year period, Deena? Like, what's outside of you having better numbers, what physically and mentally have you experienced?
I sleep better. I had sleep issues pretty much my whole life, where, I mean, I went for sleep studies because they wanted to test me for apnea, which I don't have, and, you know, all these things to see if, you know, what's wrong. Why am I getting up every 2 hours all night long and waking up feeling exhausted? And it's gone. Like, that is gone. I go to sleep. I could stay up later than most people, but when I do go to sleep, I stay asleep until morning, and I wake up, and after 5 minutes of, you know, rubbing my eyes, I feel fine. You know, I'm awake, and that's something that was not the case literally my whole life. And I'm 51 now, but I mean, that was a struggle always. And I am sure that has to do with it. Otherwise, it's a pretty amazing coincidence. But yeah, and also I do notice that physically, if I do have more, I guess, carb calories, like if I have something that's got higher content in it, like if I have sushi that's got the little rice in it,
Right.
the next day I'm feeling it. I'm feeling achy. I'm feeling, my knees start to get a little bit swollen when I'm going up the stairs, and I physically feel different. It really does have a significant impact.
Did you have any like withdrawal symptoms as you were weaning yourself off of sugar? Did you start to get headaches? Were you grumpy? Was there stuff that you were experiencing, or was it you were going so gradually you didn't really have any setbacks?
Yeah, it was gradual. So no, I didn't. And it could be that maybe I wasn't noticing I was feeling those things because I was pretty focused, and I was, focused on my mom getting well. And at that time, she was going through significant, the health problems when they first were discovered. So I was focused on that. And I said, I gotta make a change. So being determined in that way and doing it gradually, I didn't have any significant side effects that had an impact enough to notice.
Well, have you had any of your friends or other family members like your daughter or co-workers notice a difference in you during this 5-year period?
I've lost about 15 pounds, but aside from that, not really. The numbers are more in my blood work and in the way I feel. So it's not necessarily something that's as visible on the outside.
No, I think it's very important for people to know, because a lot of times people think that this is a diet and it's just to lose weight. But as Brian has always said, Brian's pretty much remained the same as far as his weight goes. But the inflammation and the recovery times when you're working out or doing a concert, the recovery time is shorter, and you don't have as much aches and pains because you do not have that inflammation. Like you said, if you cheat a little bit, not cheat, but have a little bit higher carb content food, you notice it the next day, your knees are hurting, inflammation does occur, and you notice it. That's what we become accustomed to when we don't get off of sugar and lower our carb count. So
once you experience the part of feeling good, and then you ingest too many carbs or something, and then it's like for me, like in the old days, I didn't realize how bad I felt until I felt good again. And then you eat something that affects you like that, and then it's like it's so obvious. Which is a good thing, I guess, because otherwise you wouldn't have any reason to stop.
Yeah, that's very true. And it may not be something that's outwardly visible to others, but how you feel inside. And the difference.
Well, I don't know if you're aware about this, Deena, or even Brian, but a new study from the American College of Cardiology published a current review announcing their stance on saturated fat. And I think, kudos to Linda Rose for posting this. That's where I saw it. Did you read that study, Brian?
Which one is it?
The American College of Cardiology on the stance on their stance on saturated fat.
Which is it's
well,
good.
it's so I'll give you the abstract. The recommendation to limit dietary saturated fatty acid SFA intake has persisted despite mounting evidence to the contrary. Most recent meta-analysis of randomized trials and observational studies found no beneficial effects of reducing SFA intake on cardiovascular disease and total mortality, and instead found protective effects against stroke. So although SFAs increases low density LDL cholesterol in most individuals, this is not due to increasing levels of small, dense LDL particles, but rather large LDL particles, which are much less strongly related to CVD risk. It also apparent that the health effects of foods cannot be predicted by their content in any nutrient group without considering the overall macronutrient distribution. Here's the cool part. Whole fat dairy, unprocessed meat, eggs, dark chocolate are SFA rich foods with a complex matrix that are not associated, I want to repeat that, are not associated with increased risk of cardiovascular disease. The totality of available evidence does not support further limiting the intake of such foods. Limiting saturated fat intake is not supported by the evidence. And in this study, they're saying your doctor needs to know that. And it sounds like your doctor does know that. So kudos to him. And that is from the American College of Cardiology. They're stating that saturated fat is fine, which is great to have someone of that stature sharing the truth, because as Brian's mom was reading, and most people read, that is not the case, which is the reason why people have been programmed to believe less fat is better for you. More fat, you're putting yourself at risk, when the opposite is true.
Right. Well, it's weird. There has been a few articles lately that have come out, similar to that, like about cholesterol and fat, but it's almost like it sort of gets pushed down, like it's not
the narrative. Doesn't fit the narrative.
Huh?
I said it doesn't fit the narrative.
Right. So yeah, they kind of just push it aside and don't really announce it. And and you still have the American Heart Association pushing, like Dr. Berry just tweeted something this morning that was put out by the American Heart Association. It showed pancakes. Did you see that?
No.
It was like pancakes, and then there was a glass of orange juice next to it.
Oh my gosh.
And it was, what did it say? Something about double duty, something, I don't know what the double duty was supposed to refer to, but Dr. Berry was like, double duty must mean diabetes and heart disease or something like that.
That's a visit to Diabetic City right there. Orange juice and
that's the American,
crazy.
Or no, maybe it wasn't American Heart Association. It was the diabetes one.
What?
Yeah. It was it was the Diabetes Association. So it's like, what are you doing? It's like, how can you recommend something like that? It's crazy.
There is no way in good conscience they can literally believe that crap that they're peddling right there, because that is absolutely the cause of diabetes. And for them to sit there and be pushing pancakes and orange juice, shame on you guys.
Well, yeah, I mean, it just goes to show you who's paying them,
Sponsored by the sugar company.
Well, that and pharmaceuticals, yeah. So they can keep the people on insulin.
Wow, that's just crazy. So Deena, tell us a little bit about what you like to do for fun outside of your job, and what do you like to do for fun? What are some of your hobbies?
I do everything creative. I paint, I draw, I sew clothes. I sew clothes for my daughter's dance team. They design their costumes. I play guitar. I photographer, all the arts. I'm kind of into all of that.
So
what led you to become a rock photographer? What led you, and how that gig landed in your lap, or how did you go out and get it?
I love music, and I've always been going to concerts and been a fan of bands as long as I can remember. And I bought a camera shortly after my daughter was born, because I wanted a good camera, because I wanted to preserve the memories of her the best I could. I wanted the highest quality, and started bringing it to concerts with me, and local bands where you can bring in a DSLR and taking pictures, and it just I fell in love with it. And I started researching and learning and reading and, you know, getting more into it. And then I had friends, hey, could take a picture of my son, or hey, could you take a picture of this party I'm holding? And then it turned into, hey, can you shoot my wedding? And it just snowballed. And I've been doing it since 2008. And I just love it. It's both sides, because one night it's a wedding and then another night it's a concert. So I get to, you know, a variety of atmospheres, but it's all fun.
Have you had the opportunity to photograph Brian and Kix at a show before?
I have many times, many times.
Awesome.
Yep.
So what you said you're in New Jersey. How close are you to the shore, or are you not close
I'm
at
not
all?
far at all, maybe 15 minutes.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah, I'm right by New York and the shore. So I'm right, kind of
Nice.
can go to either.
Very nice. Brian, you got any more questions for Deena?
Oh, let me think about this. Well, when you decided to give up sugar, I mean, were you thinking like keto wise, or just you're just thinking sugar? I mean,
Well, I mean, the goal was to get my blood work to where it was optimized, you know, for my health. And I knew that was the big enemy, was the sugar. So reducing that would, you know, was the main goal. But as far as keto, I've read tons about it.
You were aware of it then going into that you were aware of keto and that whole thing?
Yeah. Years before, I had tried it as a diet to lose weight, you know, like just go from like, you know, half a pound of pasta for dinner to only meat. And it was like, you know, it was a shock to the system for me to go extreme, and doing anything extreme like that, just jumping into it, it's hard to have longevity in that. You know,
Right.
It's something you have to kind of work towards. So that was short-lived for me. Definitely something that I'm working toward, you know, to be able to be exclusive meats. But
yeah, I was just curious because I sort of did it kind of like you, because it was a gradual thing, but I really once I discovered all these different forms of the diet, I just jumped in and started just researching everything. But have you yeah, I was just wondering how, like, if you've checked out like intermittent fasting or any of those parts of it.
I've read about it, and actually I kind of do that naturally. Like, it's now almost noon, I haven't eaten anything, and I probably won't until 4 o'clock. Like that, I usually like to have one big meal later in the day and then maybe one snack, but that's just naturally how I feel comfortable eating anyway. So the fact that there are benefits to that too is a good thing.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, because, you know, I did find out about intermittent fasting early on. So it was like I had to implement that. But the way you did it, it's almost like it just happened like it's supposed to happen. Because when you are eating this way, you just naturally don't eat as much. So, I mean, as often, I should say. So yeah, that's pretty cool how you sort of stumbled onto it, and just it sounds like you're just pretty much following what your body is telling you to do.
Yeah, and it's something that, like, you know, I'm to the point now, I don't even have to think about it. It's just a natural way of eating. Like, when I realize I'm hungry, it's usually 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm like, you know, I'm hungry, and then I eat, and that's it. You know, like, it's not something like I don't plan times, and I just typically only eat once a day. But it's a good thing that, you know, that's a good way to do it. So
yeah.
Yeah, I think people who are addicted to sugar, they just go, I can never do what you're doing. But what they don't realize is it's the sugar that's keeping you eating and addicted to food and grazing throughout the day. Once you remove that substance, you're really not hungry. Like, you don't have that craving to want to eat every 5 minutes. Like, I'm with you. I haven't had anything since 6 o'clock last night. And as you said, I'm still feeling fulfilled and stuffed, and probably won't eat till about 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock. Whenever I really feel hungry, I'll eat again. But, you know, I'm not going, oh my gosh, what am I going to eat next? Which is how I used to when I was addicted to sugar. I would go, oh my gosh, what am I going to eat next? As soon as I ate a big old meal of carbs, it wasn't an hour later that I was already thinking about, what am I going to eat next? What am I going to graze on next? And and it's hard for people who haven't ridden their body of that substance to be able to believe that's possible. But that is your body's response to removing that substance from your body. It will just happen naturally. Like you said, you've kind of just naturally do intermittent fasting. And I believe everybody who truly does live a clean lifestyle, and I mean by clean, no sugar, you know, and because I've had many of people who have removed the sugar, but they don't remove the alcohol. And so when they're drinking wine, it starts cravings. It's like, no, oh, I'll just smoke one cigarette. It's like back when people at the bar days, oh, I only smoke when I drink, but they're drinking since they're, oh man, hey, someone got a cigarette? And everybody starts smoking again. And that's what happens when you get wine. I know when Peggy and I in the old days, when we would still drink wine, we would go, oh, wine? Oh, well, I might as well go have a piece of pie since, you know, I'm already, it'll be okay. And it would be a setback, you know, it would take time to recover from that terrible decision that we made. But like you, I look at that stuff now and I just go, it's toxic. I don't want it. As good as it looks, and it looks amazing, my body's saying, don't put that in us. Don't put that in me. Don't put that in me. Because I just look at it, because I know what's going to happen. I know when I play, as Brian says, play the tape out, I'm not going to feel good 10 minutes later. It's going to kickstart my cravings to want more. And I'm not going to be able to satisfy it until I give it more. And if I just don't partake in that substance, I'm going to be fine. So.
Yeah, it's that hidden sugar, like that, the wine, you know, that's something you wouldn't think of that as sweets, but that doesn't mean it's not loaded with sugar. Salad dressings, things like that, like, oh, you know, that's not sweet. That's the, you know, as far as flavor, but it's all sugar. Yeah, it's all those hidden things. And I find new things every day that I didn't even realize were as full of sugar as they are.
Yeah, you become super aware, like, of ingredients. I never eat anything without knowing what's in it. And everything. But I think the reason they put the sugar in it is to make it addicting. Like even, you know, pasta sauce, like anything like that has sugar in it.
And what's interesting also is that, like, anything that's labeled, on the label it says low fat, has a higher sugar content, you know, and they got to get the flavor from something. So if they lower the fat, they up the sugar. And it's such a misconception that, you know, people think they're doing themselves good by, you know, buying those low fat labels, which are twice the price, and it's really twice as bad.
Yeah, I know, it's just crazy.
Well, the other part that people need to be aware of is the fact that even the products they're marketing that are keto friendly, I mean, the keto stamp of approval is probably no better than the heart stamp of approval, because they got so much processed crap and toxins and chemicals in that's not healthy for you either. So, you know, the bottom line is you're better eating a very simple, just pure unprocessed meat or eggs, and trying to stay away from any processed food, because, and even like Brian does, when you go to the restaurants, like Brian, you went the other night, I was going to ask you about this. I think you went to Outback, you and Shannon. You got a prime rib and asparagus. Did you ask them about the asparagus, what they cook that in?
I did. And
they
say they cook it on the same, what do they say, fire grill, wood fire grill or something. They use it's my iPad talking to me. Hang on, let me close that. Why am I getting that? That was my Siri picked up on the word fire.
That's funny.
But yeah, it was a wood fire grill or something, and she says, yeah, the asparagus is done on the same grill as the steak. So I said, because I just want to make sure it's not done in like seed oils or anything, and she assured me that it wasn't.
How was the prime rib? It looked good.
Oh, it was. And I got raw what do you call it? Geez, I can't think of anything today.
Horseradish?
Horseradish. Yeah, there you go. Because they had the version that was a sauce, and I was like, well, then I'd have to go through what's in the sauce. So I just said, just give me the raw. So I had that with it.
Awesome.
But yeah, getting back to what you were saying just before you asked me that question, you were talking about ingredients and stuff. Yeah, most people that like even switching from the standard American diet to just real food is a huge improvement. I mean, just that alone, kind of like, what you were saying, you dropped the sugar and it made such a huge impact. Just going from, processed food to real food will make an impact as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So before you remove sugar, were you grazing through the day too, Deena?
What's that?
I said before you remove sugar from your lifestyle, were you grazing through the day as well?
Yeah. Lots of highs and lows because your insulin, gets that blast when you have sugar, and then it drops, and so yeah, and always feeling tired, which I don't feel now.
Yeah, you don't need those afternoon naps. And
no, and that was enough. I used to come home from work every day and just be exhausted, and I don't take naps anymore. I don't need them.
Yeah, it truly is amazing when you make those subtle changes. And I say subtle because I understand how hard it is for people to wean themselves off the substance of sugar. But if you can take it seriously and do it, you will be amazed how your body responds to eliminating that toxin.
Yeah, it's very true.
All right, it's that time of the evening where we get a chance to check in with Mr. Brian Shanker of the MeatTribe channel for those meat deals of the week. And being July 4th, hopefully we're going to have some really good deals. So what do you got for us, Brian?
Well, I've got some good news.
Yes.
When ribeyes are on sale, there's really no need to go through a whole bunch of other stuff. It's going to be short and sweet. I've got ribeyes, and some ribeyes.
Hold on a second. Hold on. That's worth celebrating.
All right. So Food Lion, they have a deal running through the 5th. It's choice grade boneless ribeye steaks for $7.99 per pound. And other than your Food Lion, I'm assuming all the other ones will cut them to your thickness preference, since yours doesn't.
No, they can't cut through bone. So I would think boneless, they should be able to do that.
That's right. Their saw only cuts through meat, doesn't cut through bone.
Correct.
So, Harris Teeter, they also have theirs on sale through the 5th. They've got their rancher grade boneless ribeye steaks in a value pack for $7.99 per pound, or the small pack is $8.49 per pound. And if you want to jump up to choice grade, it's going to be $8.99 per pound. And I do have a couple of other deals, but these are the main ones. Kroger, their deal runs to the 5th as well. Choice grade boneless ribeye steaks in a family pack, $3 digital coupon to get the $6.99.
Wow.
Yeah, $6.99 price. So that's my hot pick of the week.
When's that start? That sale?
Today.
Oh,
today,
okay.
The day we're recording. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, all of these deals start today, except for the last one starts tomorrow, which would be, by the time this airs, would be going. Kroger also has some choice grade brisket on sale for $3.99 per pound. And finally, the last deal, which starts on the 30th and ends on the 6th. I threw this one in there just because people are going to be cooking out a lot. Giant Eagle's got some 80% lean ground beef value packs on sale for $2.99 per pound. So there you have it. Ribeyes, brisket, ground beef.
Nice.
Yeah, very nice. I tell you what, Kroger's really stepping up their sales, because their ribeyes this week and their brisket, well, they're even brisket this week, but there's some great prices they're offering.
Yeah, what was the brisket last week? It was
$1.99, I thought.
Yeah.
Or wait, was that a couple weeks ago? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was recently.
Trying to scroll back through. Yeah, $1.99 per pound. So a little bit more expensive this time, but yeah, you're right with the ribeyes, and just in time for 4th of July weekend too.
Absolutely. You got any plans there, Mr. Shanker?
No, might take the kids to the pool, try to get, something on the grill or the smoker for sure.
Well, enjoy your 4th of July weekend. And thanks for, thanks for that awesome deals of the week. Yeah. And we will see you next Friday. Have a great week, brother.
Sounds good. You all have a great week too.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Well, Brian, let's move it over to you and Kix. Does you guys plan this week?
Yes. Yeah.
Where you guys plan?
We're doing the Dundalk Heritage Fair.
Awesome. So, is that what time do you guys hit the stage? Do you know? I
do not know.
Okay.
Actually, I should know, because I saw actually, let me look. Oh, there it is. They sent it out. Oh, 8 p.m.
There you go. So should have a large turnout for since you're in your backyard for that event.
Yes. Yeah, it's always good. Every time we've done that, it's turned out really well. I remember the first year that we did it, they hired us, and their average crowd was, I think, 5,000, like their biggest crowd or something. I think we had 20,000 people or something.
Wow.
It was crazy. They were completely overwhelmed. They just did not expect that many people.
Not enough Don Johns to go around. So what do they expect now? Are you still 20, 30,000 strong, or is it bigger than that now?
I don't know, but we'll find out.
Awesome.
But hopefully, I saw the weather, and it's supposed to have scattered thunderstorms. So I'm like, oh man, like we've been. It sounded like a car went by, or a truck.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, this past week we dealt with the same thing, an outdoor show. I went up onto the stage to start tuning up, and next thing we know, it's just like hail is coming down.
Jeez.
So they had to postpone the show, luckily only for 15 minutes, but that's just, it's kind of the way that it goes for us. It'll be beautiful all week long, and then the night that we're supposed to play, the rain comes.
Well, but you guys, you bring the sunshine in amidst the storm, so it all works for a greater good.
Yeah.
So, well, Deena, thank you so much for joining us, and continue good health, and keep living that lifestyle out, and may your mom live to be 180 years old and be able to see her granddaughter and to have kids. And so, and kudos to your doctor, because that's really is a life-changing advice that he gave your mom, but gave you, taking a proactive approach. I wish we had more medical professionals out there dispensing such truth-giving and life-giving advice. So kudos to him. And we'd love to have you back on at another time to see how you're doing.
Yeah, next time you get your labs done.
Yeah, I'll let you know. Definitely.
Awesome. Well, listen, we'll see you next time we have you on. Until then, enjoy enjoy your life.
Okay. Thank you again so much. Have a great day, guys.
All right, take care.
Thanks.
All right.
Nice seeing you.
Whew, that was that's quite the story from Deena, and as we already told her, man, how lucky and blessed was she to have a doctor that literally is taking a proactive approach to her health.
It was unique because it was completely like kind of she just sort of slid into it, via her doctor, and the results like proved to her the benefits. It wasn't usually it's the other way around. You hear about everything, so then you jump into it, but she just sort of did it, and it was more of like a learning through experience, kind of an experience.
Right. Well, and the other part of that is it also brings credence to what you said Dr. Berry has said. Like her mom was 84 years old, no signs of any issues going on, and then bam, 99% blockage, and having to have open heart surgery. But kudos to the doctor for recognizing that, hey, you, Deena, are on the same path to have the same thing happen to you unless we start making corrections now, so that doesn't happen to you. And so, I hope this encourages people and gives them hope that, you can make changes. And while those changes seem absolutely out of this, I can never do that. Hopefully it gives you some hope that yes, you can, and that you don't have to do it all at once. You can gradually take those little baby steps to get you there. And then once you get there, I think just like most people, you'll start to experience those benefits, more energy, not having to graze your way through the day, and, your knees, your joints not hurting as much. And you'll start to realize why we are so proactive and supporting a keto carnivore lifestyle. It's because we know the benefits that the majority of people are going to receive. Now, I'm not saying this works for everybody, and we always say, you got to do what your body is telling you to do. So listen to what your body's telling you. But that goes, you got to be truthful. If your body's telling you need a nap all the time, and you're aching, and you're you're a little bit overweight, or you're obese, just know your body, those are signs your body's telling you we're not healthy.
Right.
So, there's a bit of advice that Brian has accepted and integrated into his lifestyle that's made a huge difference in his energy levels and his overall health. And hopefully Brian will share it with you right now. What bit of advice would you give someone, Brian?
I would say eat your meat.
And I would second that. So thanks again for joining and spending a Friday evening with us. We'll look forward to seeing you next Friday, same time, same place. And in the meantime, stay safe, stay well, and stay out of that hospital. We'll see you, everybody.
See you later.